extremely controversial bill that you carry annually.
Exactly. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you today for allowing me to present House Bill 211. We'll be working from LC 335860 is the copy that I have. This, of course, as all bills, is just a simple housekeeping bill. It is to update the dangerous drug list as well as incorporate other drugs scheduled that the State Crime Lab has identified as bath salts or synthetic cannabinoids, and also a new term as an N-bomb. So these are listed in Section 1 and Section 2 of the bill. And then we go on revising some other schedules in Section 3 as far as quantities of other scheduled compounds. And then go on to add some to Schedule 4. These are new compounds. That's Section 4. These include some veterinary compounds as well as some other compounds that are used overseas but are not approved in the United States, and they have been indicated as possible date rape drugs. So that's in Section 4 of the bill. The others listed in Section 5 are new entities that are approved by the FDA, and these, according to Georgia Code, are written in as dangerous drugs or prescription drugs into the Georgia Code so that they can be overseen and regulated by the state. The last section of the bill is actually a clarification to get us. Section 6 takes fluticasone, which is the trade name of Flonase, to an OTC status. And then Section 7 is a clarification to get us in compliance with both state and federal law as far as labeling on the prescription container itself. There had been some confusion about whether if you had a physician extender such as a PA or advanced nurse, advanced practice nurse who issued the prescription, which prescriber's name actually went onto the label. So this would change the name of physician to practitioner, a licensed practitioner in the state who is authorized to prescribe medications. And we were having some confusion. For instance, if a prescription was issued and the technician issued the physician's name and put that on the label, but it was actually the PA or a nurse practitioner that had signed the prescription, there were some audit questions with that. So we're just getting in compliance with federal standards as far as the prescriber's name that will physically go on the label of the prescription. So that's Section 7 there. And that's,
I assume all interested parties have seen that and nodded their heads in agreement, acknowledgement?
No, there's not a confusion there.
Okay.
And all we're doing is we're changing existing statute and striking physician to practitioner, a licensed practitioner, and the definition of practitioner is defined in the statute.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Broderick? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to pass.
Move to pass, Mr. Strickland. Mr. Strickland.
LC 335860, House Bill 211.
Is there a second? Second, Ms. Ballinger. Any questions? Any amendments? All in favor of the gentleman's motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Broderick.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Thanks to the committee. We'll move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Bruce, House Bill 89.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. With me is Frank Mazzelli, who is in charge of security for the area that we're talking about. It's kind of, I'm usually on that side of it. I think this is the first time I've been over here for the judiciary. But anyway, the this real simple bill changes the date to allow the designated area to be considered a crime-free zone. As you know, the cities and counties, they designate the areas, and then I guess once a year or whatever, they update it to include all of the areas that have been designated, and that's basically what the bill does. But Frank can give you a little more detail if you want it.
Is there any sort, I mean, we've seen this bill before, and it's just an update. We understand that. What's not been clear to me in the past, and that's probably my own fault, is what's the incentive, if that's even the right word, on adopting a particular area as a drug-free commercial zone? Is there a grant tied to it? Is there...
No, what it does is this particular area is inundated with drug sales, and it's a small area. It probably represents 4% of unincorporated Fulton County, but yet has over 25% of the drug arrests. So what it do, excuse me, if passed, it would enhance penalties for drug sales in the area. Again, not going after the user, but going after the trafficker. And it would dramatically change the area. It would require, of course, posting signs warning people that this is a drug-free commercial zone.
So there are established laws on the books that if you violate trafficking laws in this particular area, it's more of a penalty than if you...
Yes, there's one in Porterdale and College Park right now. There's
Is it
one
along
other-
the same lines as like a school zone and so forth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Hightower.
If this is done, municipalities and counties pass this by a local ordinance?
Correct.
Okay, and does that have to, just by that body, they vote, they designate this as a drug-free zone?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I thought, President Bruce, you were saying this also has federal dollars that are tied to it in order to bring funds there. Is that
I'm not sure if it does or not, but I was told that the possibility when you have a drug-free zone that you could apply for federal dollars to also.
So the main crux, for what you're saying, is get this designated by the counties and municipalities, put up signs, and then if someone's arrested for drug possession or whatever drug-related charge, it has more severe penalties?
Not for possession, for sale.
For sale.
So there's a number of victims on the north end of Fulton Industrial Boulevard, but there's very few people that are trafficking drugs. We want to go after the traffickers. Right now, the county has invested in a community court to help those who have drug habits or involved in prostitution because of drugs. So we're reaching the lower level, people that are using the drugs, but we want to go after people that are trafficking now and drive them out or put them in jail.
How many areas do we have that are currently doing this in Georgia? I'm saying I've never had a case like dealing with this, so that's new to me.
There's three. I know of two. This third one escapes my mind. One is in Porterdale and one in College Park.
Mr. Strickland.
I just want to kind of elaborate on what Representative Hightower is asking. Is it a local ordinance that has this enhancement of the penalty? It's not a state law that says if you sell in one of these zones, you have an increased penalty.
No, it is a state law.
There's a state law. Okay.
In Title 16.
Okay.
161332.6 is the one you're amending.
Okay.
No further questions. I don't see anyone else sign up to testify. What's the pleasure of the committee? Mr. Hightower. Sure.
I promise I'm not trying to make a big deal out of a simple bill. But we pass laws for the state that affect everybody. And right now, and it's obviously there, we're doing it now, I just didn't know about it. We have a mechanism to allow municipalities to change. I mean, I know we do that now. Municipalities can pass ordinances and things like that. So, okay. I was talking to myself too, because I haven't heard about it before. So never mind. I'm good.
Ms. Randall.
At the proper time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion.
Any further questions for the author? Seeing none, Ms. Randall.
I move to pass House Bill 89.
Ms. Randall moves to pass House Bill 89, LC 287393. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Kendrick. Any further discussion? Any amendments? Seeing none, all in favor of the lady's motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion's adopted. Thank you, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you.
We'll call House Bill 304, Representative Hightower. No, it's fine right there. Just pull the mic a little closer. Don't know if the volume's up high enough or not.
Works. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Working off LC 296293. Mr. Chairman, what this does in the governor's criminal justice reform package, they had certain bills that came through that had certain mandatory probation times on certain sentences, and in a case that came up, I believe in this past year, there was a provision there that was interpreted to mean, and I'll give an example. Let's say you have a sentence of two sentences that are running consecutive with each other. You have a 20-year sentence, 19 years served with a year of probation. Another sentence, 20 years, 19 years, a year of probation. The way they were interpreting this was, if they were running consecutive with each other, you'd have 19 years that you'd have to serve. Then you'd have to let that person out for a year to do a year of probation, because each sentence had a mandatory probation time on it. Then you'd have to rearrest the person, serve 19 years, and let them out again. Obviously, that was not the intent. The intent was that the probation time would come at the end of whatever sentence, not just the total sentence. And so this is really just clarification on that. This simply says even when consecutive sentences are imposed wherein one of the sentences requires a mandatory period of probation, it's saying that can come at the end of the actual full sentence and not midstream. So you're letting someone out of prison for a year and then having to rearrest them, just put them right back in. So it's more of just a cleanup and clarification instead of anything else.
Whatever mandatory time is going to be served with regard to both sentences of consecutive sentences, those will run before any probation
That's correct.
incident to either one of the sentences kicks in.
That's right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Questions for the author? Ms. Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Hightower, so does this mean that that was actually being done?
It actually happened, and Chuck's here. He actually has a case where it was that brought this up, and that's why we're having to fix it. It was not the intent ever. It was just the way it was interpreted because of the mandatory probation time on the end of a certain sentence. It is. I agree.
And my understanding is the administration is aware of this and there's no objection to the fix, correct?
Yes, I brought it to the governor's staff. They looked at it and didn't see any issues. To my knowledge, they never got back to me and said there were any problems and said that they thought this was a straightforward fix.
Okay. Ms. Reynolds, do you have anything else? Ms. Ballinger? Is that one? Yeah.
I know Chairman Powell is having the Department of Community Supervision or whatever, and that goes into a lot of the sentencing issues. Do you know if this is incorporated into that or if it's affected at all?
This is kind of standing alone on its own. It's not, I don't believe it's incorporated in that.
Okay.
But we'll see if any issues arise when that package makes its way here, just in terms of planning. I mean, in case there are any issues that come up inadvertently or otherwise. Okay. Ms. Kendrick, did you have?
Oh, yeah, I had a question about the second sentence. This paragraph shall govern the Department of Corrections in the computation of time that sentences shall run. Is the reason that you have to, or what is the reason for putting in the second sentence? Is it just to make clear that only the Department of Corrections?
Well, the Department of Corrections is the one who computates time now. The judges, when give a sentence, but any type of good time or anything like that, that's done through the Department of Corrections. So it's just really laying out
Yeah.
what's done now.
Any further questions for the author? Mr. Spahos, did you want to make a comment?
We're just for it, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. What's the pleasure of the committee? Ms. Ballinger moves due pass of House Bill 304, LC 296293. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Strickland. Are there any amendments? Seeing none. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of the gentleman's motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion's adopted. Let me give you a roadmap for the next couple weeks to the best of my ability. My sense is that there will be a substitute on House Bill 1, which is the medical cannabis bill, by the end of the week. That'll be published. That'll be sent to members and also to the public as well, in preparation for a hearing on that during our regularly scheduled time on Monday. That will, I hope, afford committee members enough time to take a look at it. It's straightforward. The bill is restructured, but the fundamentals are still the same. And then we'll see how that meeting goes, and we potentially may take a motion on that on Monday. We may not, just depending on the will of the committee. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a hearing only, and notices will obviously be sent out. But while we're here, next Wednesday, we're going to have a hearing only on both of the bills that comprise the governor's criminal justice reform package. One by Mr. Efstration and one by Mr. Powell. We'll have that on Wednesday in preparation for a potential motion on both of those a week from this coming Monday. So that sort of lays out the next 10 days to the extent that bills move from subcommittee to full committee, and we have a time ability during a regular meeting. We'll see what we can go ahead and fit into that as well. But that would put a potential motion on the governor's package on that would fall on day 24, and we don't want to get too far down the line in terms of getting close to day 30, unless there are issues that arise that necessitate a delay. The hope is that if there are any issues or adds or subtracts on that package, that it would occur, that those discussions be happening now, but certainly between the time of a hearing and a potential motion a week from this Monday. So that sort of sets out the next 10 days or so, and then we'll march on from there, depending on what on how the subcommittees progress on the bills that they have, and there are several. There are several big-ticket items in the subcommittees being worked on right now. So, any questions about that from members? Seeing none, thank you for your time. We're adjourned.